Welcome, dear friends. Have you ever wondered what your home looks like to the eyes of a saint? We look at our walls and see brick, wood, and paint. We lock our doors and believe we are safe. But Padre Pio, the mystic of San Giovanni Rotondo, saw something entirely different. He saw the spiritual reality that overlays our physical world. Today, we are going to explore a startling and profound vision granted to Padre Pio, a vision where he looked out over a valley and saw invisible barriers, like domes of light, protecting certain homes while others lay exposed to an encroaching darkness. This is not just a story from the past. It is a revelation about the spiritual safety of your own family, tonight. Before we step into this profound mystery, let us open our hearts to one another. If you are carrying a heavy burden for your family, or if you feel a need for protection over your home, please write your prayer in the comments below, or if words fail you, simply write Amen. And I ask you, as an act of charity, look for a prayer from another brother or sister there, and reply with a word of strength or hope. In this way, we do not pray alone. We become a fortress for one another. To understand the vision of the invisible barrier, we must first understand the eyes that saw it. Padre Pio lived in two worlds simultaneously. To him, the supernatural was not a distant theory. It was as tangible as the rough wool of his habit or the stone floor of the monastery. He saw angels. He saw the souls in purgatory. And, with a terrifying clarity, he saw the spirits of darkness that prowl about the world, seeking the ruin of souls. He often told his spiritual children that if we could see the number of demons that surround us, they would blot out the sun. This was not said to frighten us, but to awaken us. It was this spiritual sight that allowed him to perceive the true nature of the domestic church, the family home. The account of this specific vision begins on a quiet evening in San Giovanni Rotondo. The sun had set behind the jagged peaks of the Gargano Mountains, and a heavy silence had fallen over the monastery. While the other friars were resting or attending to their studies, Padre Pio was, as usual, deep in prayer. He was standing by a window that overlooked the valley below, where the small town and the scattered farmhouses lay sleeping under the cover of night. To the natural eye, it was just a landscape of shadows and faint, flickering lamps. But as Padre Pio gazed out, the veil was lifted. He did not see merely roofs and chimneys. He saw the spiritual state of the families dwelling within. He described seeing a dark, prowling fog moving through the valley. It was the presence of the enemy, the spirit of discord, impurity, and despair, seeking entry into the lives of the faithful. This darkness moved like a predator, testing the defenses of each home. However, what struck Padre Pio most forcibly was not the darkness, but the light. He saw that certain houses were covered by a glowing, semi-transparent dome. It was a shield of light, an invisible barrier that arched over the roof and anchored deep into the earth. When the dark spirits approached these homes, they were repelled. They could not pass the barrier. They would circle it, looking for a crack, for an opening, but finding none, they were forced to move on. But there were other homes, many of them, that had no such protection. They stood naked in the spiritual landscape. The walls were there, the doors were locked with iron keys, but spiritually, they were wide open. The darkness seeped through the windows, under the doors, and into the very hearts of the sleeping inhabitants. These were the homes where strife, anxiety, and coldness reigned. Padre Pio turned from the window, his heart heavy yet filled with a burning desire to teach his people. He knew the source of that light. He knew what constructed that dome. It was not the wealth of the family, nor their social standing. It was not the thickness of their physical walls. The dome of light was built by the evening prayer of the family. Specifically, Padre Pio identified this protection with the collective prayer of the household, parents and children kneeling together to end the day with God. In the homes where the rosary was recited, where the family gathered to thank God for the day and ask for His protection through the night. The dome was impenetrable. The prayer acted as a spiritual architect, constructing a fortress that the devil could not breach. This vision brings us to a crucial realization. The spiritual safety of our homes depends not on locks and bolts, but on the presence of God invited in by the parents. There is a story told by one of Padre Pio's spiritual sons, a man we shall call Giovanni, which illustrates this truth with piercing clarity. Giovanni was a good man, a hard worker who loved his family, but like many of us, he had allowed the busyness of life to crowd out the sacred silence of his home. Giovanni came to Padre Pio in deep distress. His home, once peaceful, had become a battleground. His children were rebellious and distant. He and his wife bickered constantly over trivial matters. There was a heaviness in the air of his house, a sense of oppression that he couldn't shake. He felt as though peace had packed its bags and left. He confessed this to the saint in the confessional. "Padre," he said, "I don't know what is happening. We have everything we need. We are healthy, we have food, the roof is sound, but there is a shadow over us. We are drifting apart." Padre Pio listened, his head bowed, his hand covering his face as he often did when peering into a soul. Then he looked up, his eyes piercing through Giovanni. "You have locked the door against the thief who steals your money," Padre Pio said sternly, "but you have left the door wide open for the thief who steals your peace." Giovanni was confused. "But Padre, we go to Mass on Sundays. We are Catholics." "The church is the house of God," Padre Pio replied. "But your house must be a sanctuary as well. Tell me, Giovanni, when was the last time you and your wife and your children knelt together to pray the rosary? When was the last time you invited the Madonna to sit in your living room?" Giovanni lowered his eyes. "It has been years, Padre. We are so tired in the evenings. The children have their studies. I have my work." Padre Pio's voice softened, but it lost none of its intensity. "You are too busy to build the walls of your castle? Listen to me. The enemy is a coward. He cannot stand the sound of the Hail Mary on the lips of a child. He cannot enter a home where the mother and father are united in prayer. You have let the fire go out, and now the wolves are circling." He gave Giovanni a penance, but more importantly, he gave him a prescription. "Go home," he said. "Do not preach at your family. Do not yell. Simply begin. This evening, before you sleep, call them together. Take out your rosary, and if they will not join you at first, pray it alone in their presence. Build the barrier again." Giovanni left San Giovanni Rotondo with a heavy heart, but a clear mission. That night, the atmosphere in his home was as tense as ever. Dinner was eaten in silence. Afterward, his children moved to retreat to their rooms, and his wife to her chores. Giovanni sat in the main room. He felt foolish. He felt the weight of his own negligence. But he remembered Padre Pio's eyes that had seen the dome of light. He took his rosary beads from his pocket. They were dusty. "Maria," he called to his wife. "Children, come here for a moment." They came, looking annoyed and confused. "What is it?" his son asked. "We are going to pray," Giovanni said. His voice shook slightly. "We are going to pray for our peace." He knelt down on the hard floor. There was a long, awkward silence. His teenage son rolled his eyes. His wife stood with her arms crossed. But Giovanni began, "In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit." He began the Apostles' Creed. He did not look up. He simply prayed, focusing on the words, inviting the presence of God back into the vacuum of his home. By the first decade, his wife had sat down in the chair behind him. By the third decade, he heard the rustle of clothing as she knelt beside him. By the end of the rosary, the children were still silent, but they had not left the room. The change did not happen overnight. It was not magic, it was grace. But Giovanni persisted. Night after night, the prayer rose up, and slowly the heaviness began to lift. The arguments became fewer. The laughter returned. The dome of light was being reconstructed, brick by spiritual brick. When Giovanni returned to Padre Pio months later, he didn't need to speak. Padre Pio saw him approaching and smiled, a radiant, fatherly smile. "I see you have repaired the roof," the saint whispered. This anecdote reveals the mechanics of the vision. The dome of light is not a static thing. It is active. It requires maintenance. Just as a fire needs wood to keep burning, the spiritual protection of the home needs the fuel of prayer. Padre Pio taught that the evening is a critical time for spiritual warfare. The day is done, the defenses are lowered, and the body is tired. It is in the darkness of night that the mind can be assaulted by worries, fears, and temptations. It is during sleep that we are most vulnerable. By instituting the family prayer in the evening, we are essentially sealing the house. We are claiming the territory for God before we surrender to sleep. But let us go deeper. Why did Padre Pio insist on the family praying together? Why not just the father alone or the mother alone? He understood a profound theological truth. The family is an icon of the Trinity. When a family prays together, they generate a spiritual power that is greater than the sum of its parts. Jesus promised, "Where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there am I in the midst of them." When the family gathers, Christ is present in a unique way, and where Christ is, the enemy cannot be. The darkness cannot exist in the presence of the light of the world. The dome Padre Pio saw was, in essence, the radiance of Christ's presence among them. There is another aspect to this vision that is often overlooked. Padre Pio noted that the dome of light did not just protect the house from the outside, it transformed the people on the inside. In the homes covered by the dome, the inhabitants were different. They were not perfect people. They still had flaws, they still made mistakes, but there was a fundamental resilience about them. When suffering came, and suffering comes to every house, it did not break them. Sickness, financial loss, even death. These things struck the protected homes just as they struck the unprotected ones. But in the protected homes, these trials did not lead to despair. They led to a deepening of faith. The dome acted as a filter. It allowed the will of God to enter, even if that will included the cross, but it filtered out the poison of the enemy, the despair, the bitterness, the division. Padre Pio once said to a woman who was terrified of the devil, "My daughter, do not fear him. He is like a dog on a chain. He can bark, he can lunge, but he cannot bite you unless you get within the reach of his chain." The family prayer shortens the reach of that chain. It pushes the darkness back to the periphery. Let us consider another testimony, one that touches on the protection of children, a subject so dear to every parent's heart. A mother named Elena came to Padre Pio, weeping. Her son had moved to a city far away for university. She was terrified for his soul. The city was full of temptations, and he was young. She felt helpless, unable to watch over him, unable to guide him. "Padre," she cried, "I cannot protect him anymore. He is out of my reach." Padre Pio looked at her with deep compassion. "You are wrong, Elena. He is never out of your reach. Do you think the walls of this monastery keep me from visiting my spiritual children all over the world?" He continued, "The Spirit has no distance. When you gather your family, even if it is just you and your husband left, and you pray for him, you send an angel to his side. You build a roof over his head, even if he is 1,000 miles away." He then shared with her a variation of the vision. He explained that the dome of light originates in the faithful home, but it can extend. It can stretch out like a canopy to cover those we love who are far away. When a mother prays the rosary for her absent child, she is weaving a spiritual garment of protection around him. Elena went home and reinstated the family rosary with a new fervor. She visualized her son with every Hail Mary. She placed him under the mantle of the Virgin. Years later, her son returned. He confessed to her that there were nights in the city when he was on the verge of making terrible mistakes, of falling into grave sin. But he told her, On those nights, I would suddenly feel a strange sensation. A thought of home would come into my head, a feeling of being watched over, and I would turn back. I didn't know why then, but I know now. The invisible barrier is real, it is effective, and it transcends space. But we must also address the warnings Padre Pio gave. He saw the homes without the dome. He described them as being drafty in a spiritual sense. The winds of the world blew through them unchecked. In these homes, the television or the radio, and today we would add the internet and smartphones, were the loudest voices. The voice of God was drowned out by the noise of the world. Padre Pio often warned that when we allow the world to dictate the atmosphere of our home, we are inviting the enemy to sit at our dinner table. He once said, "The devil does not need to possess a person to destroy a family. He only needs to introduce the spirit of distraction and the spirit of selfishness." When we stop praying together, we stop looking at each other with the eyes of God. We start seeing our spouse as an obstacle, our children as a burden, our parents as a nuisance. The self becomes the center of the universe. The dome collapses, and the cold wind rushes in. So, how do we rebuild? How do we construct this dome of light if it has fallen into disrepair? Padre Pio was a practical man. He did not ask for impossible feats of asceticism from laypeople. He asked for consistency and simplicity. First, he instructed families to consecrate their home to the Sacred Heart of Jesus and the Immaculate Heart of Mary. This is a formal act of inviting the king and queen to take up residence. It is like handing over the keys of the house to God. Second, he insisted on the rosary. Love the Madonna and make her loved. Recite the rosary, he would say. It is the weapon against the evils of the world today. For Padre Pio, the beads of the rosary were like the links of a chain mail armor. Each Hail Mary was a hammer blow forging the shield. It doesn't have to be perfect. As we saw with Giovanni, it can start awkwardly. Babies might cry, children might fidget, minds might wander. God does not demand perfection. He demands presence. He wants us to show up. The effort itself is the prayer. Third, Padre Pio encouraged the use of sacramentals. Holy water near the door, a crucifix in every room, images of the saints. These are not charms. They are visible signs of our invisible allegiance. They remind us, and the spirits that watch us, of who this house belongs to. Imagine for a moment that we could borrow Padre Pio's eyes tonight. Imagine walking down your own street. You see the houses of your neighbors. Some are dark, cold, exposed to the swirling mists of anger and anxiety. And then you come to your own home. What would you see? Would you see the dome? Would you see that shimmering golden shield that says, "Here dwells a family that prays"? If the answer is no, or I'm not sure, do not lose heart. The construction can begin this very instant. The materials are free. They are available to everyone, rich or poor. We live in a time of great uncertainty. The world outside our doors can feel increasingly hostile to faith, to innocence, and to peace. We worry about the culture. We worry about the safety of our children. We worry about the future. But Padre Pio's vision tells us that we are not victims. We are not helpless bystanders. We have the power, given by God, to create a sanctuary. We have the power to draw a line in the sand, or rather, a circle of light in the spirit that says, "Thus far you may come, darkness, and no further." This is the great hope of the vision. The darkness is vast, yes. The valley was full of fog, but the light of a single faithful family was stronger than all the darkness around it. As St. John wrote, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." Your prayers matter. The Our Father, whispered by a tired mother at the bedside of her child, shakes the foundations of hell. The Hail Mary, spoken by a father driving his family to Mass, is a shield of fire. Let us return to the image of Padre Pio, standing at that window, looking out over the sleeping world. He is watching still. He is rooting for us. He is praying that we will take up the weapons of light and defend our homes. Tonight you have a choice. You can lock your physical doors and hope for the best, or you can gather those you love, or if you are alone, gather yourself in the presence of the angels and build the dome. Begin simply. Call on the name of Jesus. Ask for the intercession of his blessed mother, and watch with the eyes of faith as the light begins to gather. Watch as the peace returns. Watch as the invisible barrier rises, a fortress of love that shall not be moved. Thank you for journeying into this mystery with us. If this message has touched your heart, if it has inspired you to light that lamp of prayer in your home tonight, please share this with others. Let us fill the valley with domes of light, one home at a time. Until next time, may God bless you, and may his light always protect your home.